Today we're going to be trying to remove some locking wheel nuts without the special tool from a smart car. Let's check it out and look at a few other methods we'll be discussing to get these off. So locking wheel nuts, they come in all shapes and sizes. Some require a socket, a special socket. Some require a key. This is the one we're going to be working with today. And this is a different type of locking wheel nut, which require different tools usually. I will mention one thing before doing this project. Make sure you have replacement lug nuts. You don't want to take these off and then have nothing to put back on. It may seem obvious, but you may have neglected to think about that. The number one method is welding. Now this car, the brakes went out on me. I was nowhere near home. I took it into a garage. They thought the best idea was to weld these nuts on and then just use a standard wrench to get them off. But I do appreciate that not many people have welders, and with welding you can actually mess up the rims, especially if you have some nice ones on there. So let's look at something else. The next thing you do, depending on the spacing of these, you can slip a standard deep socket over them. For example, this long hexagonal one here, or maybe something like a star-shaped socket. All you need to do is get some purchase on it, and then you can try and slip it off that way with a standard wrench. That's, if you have these in your toolbox, it's quite easy to try these. So it's a good first step you can actually take in order to try and get these off. And before even doing any of these things, you can use some penetrating fluid like WD-40, or even my personal favorite, which is a 50-50 mix of transmission fluid and acetone. It really gets in those threads, so you can actually apply this for a few hours before you even attempt anything. One thing you can also do, if your nuts actually extrude on your wheels, they don't on this, they're actually in holes. You can take an angle grinder and kind of try and carve out a hexagon shape on them, just by angle grinding each side, and that way you can get something on there to get them off, like a standard wrench. With these, it's not that possible. So let me show you a tool that might work for us. So this is the tool we're going to be looking at today. Now these are reverse kind of thread, not really thread, but they've actually got like little cutting blades in there. It's like a reverse food blender, for example. Now these are the deep socket ones. I recommend these for lug nuts because you can, get more lug nut in here, for example. You can get ones half the size. I recommend those for like exhaust pipe bolts or hard to remove, smaller bolts. But for lug nuts, I recommend the deep socket ones like these. So we're going to give this a go. We're going to try and pop it onto our other locking wheel nuts. It'll be a 19mm for this application. And we're going to see if we can bite down on it with these. The idea is when we start to undo it, it's going to bite down even more and we can try and get the lug nut off. Because of the design of this lug nut, we're going to try and get it over these perforated edges here to get more purchase on it when we're going to undo it. So on the front of the vehicle, the locking wheel nuts are still here. It's that one there. I'm going to put our socket over there, like so. If your lug nuts have caps on, it's just a small little metal thin layer on top of the lug nut. If they come off, try and get them off if possible. If not, it doesn't really hurt to try either with the caps on. Now we're going to get a hammer and just give it a whack in to get a good solid kind of fit on it. If you have nice rims, I don't, or you're bad aim, you might want to use a rubber mallet. So I whacked it in pretty much till it stopped going in any further. It will slowly rotate a bit as you hammer it in, but now we have a really good solid fit on there. This kit here is a 1/2 inch drive, so the bigger one right here, and not 3/8 inch, so we're going to get a good amount of torque on here. So I recommend a long breaker bar on this, not a small one, or alternatively a standard socket wrench and an axe. You need leverage. Check it out. So you may be asking, how do I get this out now? Well, this is what this mysterious rod here is for. It's called a drift punch. We're just going to slide that down here and knock that out with a hammer. Very easy. So you can see here's the damage it did to the locking wheel nut here. Those perforations, you know, it really dug into those as we were undoing it. So, you know, obviously don't use this again, and only do this job when you have fresh lug nuts to replace these with. Now this kit I'll link in the description below, but let's see how it holds up after just taking 2 off. You can see there, right inside, that's just after 2. This is a cheap copy, I wouldn't say it's name brand or anything, but what you see in here, it's only surface. It's hard to tell, but there's nothing actually missing in terms of, you know, the tool. It's just like really the paint, if you will. So they've actually done a solid job, and I do actually recommend this tool. They came off really easy. And this toolkit I'll link in the description below so you can check that out. And if you don't have this type of locking wheel nut, don't worry, I'll link in other tools in the description below so you can check those out for your type of locking wheel nut. I just want to say a real quick message to our viewers. I made this channel a few years ago, and its primary aim was to give you the skills, but more importantly the confidence in order to tackle pretty much any DIY job you may have. In the process we've saved our viewers thousands of dollars or pounds or euros, whichever currency you want to use. I've put multiple hours of time into making videos each and every week, which I somehow juggle between family and a full-time job. If any of our videos on our channel helped you, please support our channel by clicking the thanks button underneath any video on this channel. You can choose how much you wish to donate. It's going to go right back into the channel towards videos, tools and everything else. So thank you very much for that. When you make a donation towards the channel, you can put an optional message, and your message will be highlighted along all the comments for everybody to see. The bigger the donation, the bigger the highlight, so everybody can see how awesome you are. So I hope this video helped you, and thanks again for watching.